again, thanks to everybody that hung out with us for those 3 days of draft coverage and stuff like that. Thanks to our friends over at DallasCowboys.com, too, for allowing us to be in that space over there. The draft is always a lot of fun. I enjoy that. I enjoy the uncertainty. I don't know, Wilczek, did you kind of feel like that, man, usually you have an idea what they're going to do, and you're just kind of like just throwing a bunch of stuff?
I felt like we were just saying about 5 or 6 different names.
Yeah.
And we had no clue. And the entire first round was bizarre.
Yeah. I think with all the trades and stuff like that, it was kind of crazy. But, heck, they, I don't think it was one of those flashy drafts by any means. They did grab a couple of players that, and I'm going to go through this and just kind of off my board who I thought had a good draft. I'll run through some of the teams and not so much the names, but just the picks. Because I always like to look at this as when somebody drafts, how many players would they take out of my top 100? Or how many players, in this case, would they take out of my 210? What teams? So, like, there's something, I always give draft grades. I'm not going to give a grade for these teams, but I'm just going to say who I think had a good draft based on my board.
Give them a gold star to take home.
Maybe a cookie, gold star, something like that.
I always preferred the cookie over the gold star.
What about the lollipop?
Lollipop was sweet. Something tangible that I could actually use. The sticker was cool for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like after 3rd grade, it's like, give me some actual treats here. Okay.
And
leave the gold stars to the second grade.
You're talking about the cookies and stuff real quick. Have you ever seen the TikTok video where they go to the NBA players, they hang outside the locker room, or they do it with baseball too, and they do the dap them up, and then they open their hand and it's like candy?
Yep.
These players get so happy. Like they're kind of like apprehensive about, okay, dap, and then they show it's like a piece of candy, and they get excited. They're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Like, so they're like totally into it. So
I love that.
I like that idea. I think it is pretty cool. All right. Within the division, I know a lot was made about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they were able to do with their draft in the division. If you look at overall, the Giants only had 4 of my players in the top 100. They took player 24, 27, 51, and 134. So those 4 picks, I mean, the other ones were not in my top 100.
I thought the Giants had from my understanding, it looked like they had a pretty dominant draft, at least in the top part of it.
They were good. They were good.
They got some players,
yeah,
dude.
They were very good early in this draft. The Philadelphia Eagles, they had the best draft within the division that I thought. But if you just look at the players off my 210, they took player number 1, 21, 40, 92, 103, and 117, with 186 being that quarterback I wasn't in love with. But I thought that was a pretty good haul right there. You're talking about 6 players that they got within off my board inside of pick 117 that they were able to do that. So pretty impressive draft. The Cowboys, if you were curious about the Cowboys picked player 39, 86, 108, 146, 161, and 204.
Howie outworking you once again.
Yeah. So the Eagles being, behind you, but on that first pick, they were able to benefit by picking up player number 1, off my board right there.
And then the guy they get at 30 is a guy that you would have thought they would have got at 10.
And they were probably willing to take there.
Yeah.
And then they trade for DeAndre Swift. Gosh, bleep the Eagles, man.
They got 2 running backs that can't stay healthy, though, but they are doing a great job.
So overall, and then just to finish out the division, the Commanders took players 32, 90, 98, 142, and 148 off my board.
I loved their first 2 picks.
Yeah.
Forbes and Martin.
Yeah.
After that, they weren't gathering up the talent, though, were they,
They
Brian?
were not. They were not gathering up the talent. Now, a couple of teams, my buddy John Snyder.
Yeah.
I think my guy John Snyder, every once in a while I think he leaves the room. And the Seahawks decide. Now, John came back in the room because he can't help himself. He has to take running backs. That's something John loves to take running backs. So, he had to go back in at the end there and grab a running back. But grabbing grabbing McIntosh there, I think was a pretty darn good move by what he was able to do. But
you think that's number one on his draft commandments list?
He loves running backs.
Come away with at least one running back on every day of the draft.
He has to figure out how to get running backs. That's, it didn't matter.
He took two.
He absolutely can't help it.
Well, it's not like they have a Kenneth Walker or something there who's young and pretty good.
They've got a good back.
Add some. But if you look at his overall draft, they took player 13, 17, 56, 69, 89, 122, 147, 160, 168.
Wow.
So
good players.
You would swear that John and I probably went to the same class of drafting, huh? Or like the same scouting school
and board building
because
trained him up pretty good.
I wouldn't have taken all the running backs. You guys know I love running backs.
My rear end, you'd have taken more.
I wouldn't have taken. I like what he did.
You'd have taken Bijan at 5, not Devin Witherspoon.
You would have traded up.
No. I appreciate what
you'd have gone all Ditka for Ricky Williams. That's what you would have done for Bijan.
Okay, tell me about this. The NFC North, I felt like, had a pretty darn good draft with Chicago and then also Detroit were the two teams. Minnesota, I thought, was awful. Minnesota had, I thought, one of the worst drafts that you could have.
So if you were going to grade them, would you go a good old-fashioned F-ski?
I would think I would be an F on that one.
Nice.
I would, but I'm not going to grade them on this one.
No, we're not grading
these things. You got Jordan Addison, though.
I know, but everybody else was not worth it to me. But here, listen to what Detroit did for me. Detroit hit 16, 23, 45, 57, 60, but then 162. So Detroit was off on a good run. Chicago went 19, 46, 52, 83, 84, 93, 131, and 168. So everybody that they draft, I had on my board.
They got beloved Roschon.
They got, that's why, again, give the Chicago Bears some credit.
Yeah, the Bears did a good job. And the Lions, you're right. I mean, the people can question where they took the players.
Right.
But the players that they got are really good, especially their top 5 picks.
Yeah.
You like running back and linebacker in the top 15 picks, Brian?
I thought, you know what?
Give that an A?
I had both those players. I had value for both those players. I mean, like I said, that to me, that was where, I just look at the players. I understand people have their, I wouldn't take running back. Everybody has that. Me personally, I just look at the player.
Yeah.
That's where I put him. And, that's how I think some teams, so like I say, the numbers in some of these teams, I think if you look at some of the people who have graded the drafts, they're talking about Detroit's and Chicago's. Indy's another team that, to me, I felt like that they did pretty good with their 25, 42, 64, 67, 81, 128, 153, 197. I mean, there's teams, like I say, the way that some of these teams build their boards is kind of the way I built my board.
Yeah.
Now we'll see if it all plays out at the very end. But one final one before I get out of here was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I just kind of felt like the whole day Pittsburgh was drafting really, really good players. And there's the proof to me. 9, 12, 37, 50, 76, 77.
Mm-hmm.
To get Corey Trice in the 7th round from Purdue, what in the world?
They made, I thought, some incredible picks. We'll see if it all plays out for the way that this shakes. But I was happy to know that some of the teams did their boards the same way I did, because that's what you're looking at right there. You're kind of looking like, okay, was I in the ballpark with some of these teams? And I feel like the ones we'll see how it all plays out at the end. But I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, be worried about them in the division and what they did. They had a really good draft according to the way my board shook out.
Seems like it's pretty doable to get 5 top 100 players for a lot of these teams if you manage it right.